Okay, so let's get started today. Today I'm going to be doing part 2 of our critique hour. And I'm going to start off by critiquing some leftover elemental submissions because I love what they did. I just love it. I usually don't go backward in that, but I really wanted to take a look at it because there's so much we can do with it. So I'll be taking a look at this as well as the leftover Harvest Goddess submissions. Beautiful, beautiful work. I cannot wait to get a look at them. I will be using Portrait Studio today to help me along with some of my critiques, mostly this one. But let's start off with some announcements. To join the Reddit, to get announcements on community challenges, to be part of the community, submit your work for critique, to have your work on my videos, you just have to go to Reddit. So istebrak.com, the little Reddit icon is in the top left, top right corner. Click on it. Join us on Reddit and help a sister out and join as a patron. If everybody right now joined as a patron, I would never need to ever announce Patreon ever again if everyone joined as a $1 watcher. So you guys are here, you guys are all present, and if you guys just join as a watcher, which is just a $1 submission, I would never again need any kind of support. I would never need to constantly promote Patreon everywhere if everybody who joined in just pledged $1 a month. Because it helps support me, it helps free my time, it helps me stream, it helps me feel pressure-free streaming, pressure-free pursuit of my personal work. Every artist needs a patron, and you guys are my patrons, you guys are here, and I'm offering you all my classes, I'm offering you everything that I do for free. But if you feel like, you want to give back, if you feel like you want to give something, it doesn't have to be the $10 or the $20 tier, it doesn't have to be a crazy subscription. $1 is all it takes for me to shut the hell up about Patreon. So if you guys want to join, please do. It means the world that you guys are all here and giving something back. And as a collective, it will mean a lot. It may be just $1 to you, but with all of you responding with $1, I would never again need to announce Patreon. So if you guys want to help me out with that and never hear the word Patreon again, you just have to join as a $1 patron, as a watcher. And you still get some personal work. You get all my full resolution drawings. You get everything that I offer for watchers. So thank you for considering it, though. If you can't, I completely understand. Asking your parents or pledging $1, going through this stupid credit card process, it's annoying and it's bothersome. I understand. But for those who do have the time and patience for that, I really, really appreciate it. Okay, and that's it. Portrait Studio sale will be live at the end of October. I'll be using Portrait Studio today to show you what the heck it is, but it will be live. The sale will be live from the 1st or maybe the end of October and into the 1st of November. It'll be a 2-week, possibly 1-month-long sale at 55% off. Right now, Portrait Studio at my store, istebrak.com/store, is at $90. It'll be almost 55% off during the sale. So if you want Portrait Studio, you're impressed by it today, you feel like you might use it, wait out and buy it during the sale if you have to. Okay, if you can. If you have to buy it now because it's amazing software and we put our lives into it, that's okay too. We accept the extra 55%. All right, let's get started. So this piece is phenomenal. I love what you did with it. It doesn't feel like you took too much texture out of your overlays, and at the same time, most of it feels painted, like you tried to paint some of it too. I love that. I love that balance. If the piece feels complete. However, you did not maximize how much you need to put into the portrait. So I'm opening up Portrait Studio now, and I'm going to load in the posable mannequin figure. So in Portrait Studio, we have models. There's primary models, there's figures, and there's the female figure. And you can pose her however you need to help you build your reference. So Portrait Studio is a reference development software. You can create any scene you need in there, and especially in the new update coming up. So the UI you're seeing right now is going to be changed. All the controls are still going to be there. It's just going to look better and behave better. But in the upcoming update, you'll be able to piece together many objects together. So this and this can become one object. And you can build an even bigger object with it, so you don't have to worry so much about presets that we bring into Portrait Studio. Let's pose her. So we've got this elemental astronomy goddess, like this galaxy nebula queen, and you've got the weakest waistline on her, and you've squinted her eyes. The reason why these are a problem is because all you had were her eyes, and that's all you had to help you along the read for the portrait. I understand there was an expression you wanted to show, but when I think of a celestial goddess who is so large, she is the universe herself, I don't think of squinted eyes. I think of this like possessed, opened eyedness, and we've seen this before in many league splashes, for instance, all those themed league splashes with the, like with the possessed, I think it's Kale, the Kale one with the light and the open eyes, the big bright eyes. I don't know if you can get me that link, Finn, real quick for me and send it to me on Discord. I'm not sure which other ones, but whenever we're talking about a possessed character in illustration, not possessed, but final form, from like Goku all the way, like across all kinds of anime, we've seen it before. The eyes are open. There's an impact. So I'm going to take care of that. I'm going to take care of that second, because the portrait ideally should be the thing that you deal with second. When you're planning an illustration, plan the figure first. So I'll correct that. And the figure that I see is this really, really cool, like, depth of field. Not too much depth of field though, but depth of field, lean back. And she's kind of like tilted her head this way. And she is outstretching her arms, so she's kind of like on an axis, like her her center of gravity is non-existent, which is really, really cool. So the body's facing, the upper body's facing this way, the lower body's kind of facing this way. One thigh is facing that way, the other thigh is facing that way. You got a high shoulder, you got a low shoulder. Such a cool pose. And I'm just trying to like duplicate that as best as I can. So this thigh is facing that way and kind of tucked inward. And this thigh, using the green axis, is facing that way and up a little bit higher. And the knee, you just choose the joint and adjust by pressing R. These controls will change eventually, but not too much. Don't worry about that. And I'm going to reposition this scene so I can rotate the body appropriately. Okay, so I want the body to rotate this way, and it's going to be really weird. I want the lower body to, oopsie, rotate that way. So we've got that compression in the stomach with the way that the body has been built. All right, so you see that? So we have that really like suspended look. And if you want to get rid of that joint, you can just get rid of it like that. And the lighting that I see on her is just some really, really dramatic lighting, maybe off to the side. This is all, by the way, real time. You don't have to wait for anything to cook. You can just take the screenshot right there and it saves directly to your desktop. There's no need to worry about your computer not performing well, because there are different performance profiles you can have to help your computer just develop your scene, and then you can turn on enhanced lighting if you need it, or change controls so that you can take the screenshot really quickly and then turn them back off. So in order for us to like be convinced that her eyes are glowing, I would want to just invest some kind of fake environment. But we also have the, if you guys look back to my other, so wait, let me save this first. Save as new, suspended goddess. Okay. Open. And then there's the glowing elemental from before. So if you want to go for something like this and have that suspended feel, and then darken the head, make it transparent, and then bring in the glowing eyes, that'd be cool too. But for now, I just want to see what I can do with the suspended goddess, just doing that. Okay. And I'm going to move. I need a better angle to see this better. Right, so you can reposition, you can rotate, and you can enlarge features on the models. So I reposition the shoulder because, it's just a model at the end of the day. It's not going to be completely accurate to human anatomy, which is impossible. I'm going to do my best to make it behave like a human. And that's the thing. You still have to be good at art to know how to pose a body, right? You still have to have familiarity with the anatomy. You still have to have gesture experience and experimenting with different kinds of spine rotations to know what the limits are per rotation, like to know how much a thigh can move, where a thigh stops, where natural human flexibility stops. So all of that, Portrait Studio is not going to do any of that for you. You're going to have to learn that stuff on your own, which is how I'm posing right now. So the wrist sometimes is weak, and that's how I'm posing this. I'm tilting the head. And then to get that predatory kind of in charge thing, you kind of have to raise the ears up like a tiger. That's why we associate the head tilting down to predatory, because we see that when we see like creatures of prey, or what are they called? Like those hunter creatures. What's the official term of them in zoology? Those types of creatures bend their head down, their ears are high, everything is pointed, and it just looks generally dangerous. So imagine this piece with this amazing color palette with this pose. I think it would look phenomenal. So I'm going to try to duplicate that in my critique. I'm going to actually try to do it. She's going to feel so much more colossal. And just look what happens when we increase the field of view. Right? She looks like she's actually covering a distance. She's actually in the distance right now. We have the feet almost the size, or actually bigger than the head. And that's the field of view. And that's making it seem like we're actually there in front of her. Where if we decrease the field of view and then zoom back out, it feels like everything is just, I believe it's called orthographic. I might be wrong. I'm probably 100% wrong. All right, so I'm increasing the field of view. It zooms out because it's increasing the field of view. And then we zoom back in to get the position we want and the way the camera behaves. So I'm just going to use green shot real quick just to give me my screenshot. I don't want to take a picture of the whole thing. And then I'm going to open up my reference. Keep it to the side. So remember, if you want Portrait Studio, it's going to be on sale in October. If you want it now, you can also buy it now. It supports us. It gives to the community directly. It keeps Critique Hour alive. So it's just a win-win. Let's move into this critique. And then the eyes I'll adjust later. So we've got, I'm trying to decide how I'm going to pull this off. All right, so filter, liquefy. Let's try this. Okay, so we've got a smaller head. Let me close Portrait Studio because I have it on max stuff right now. All right. The small head will help establish the fact that she's in the distance. So it's okay. You're not losing everything just by shrinking her head. And we can see that her shoulder line is really, really close to her neck because that's the rotation. You do have some indication of breasts right there, just the base of the breast, which is good. And then you have that stomach symmetry line, which is really helping us move the femininity along. And then we've just got that wide hip. And you can exaggerate it. You can even exaggerate it in Portrait Studio. You can turn off, you can select this entire upper body and shrink it as a whole. And that way you'll have a larger lower body to upper body ratio just for measurements. And I'm going to select the whole head, shrink it and tilt it down, and tilt down her hairline as well to help create the feeling like she's in perspective. So does anybody have any questions? This is why I like live recordings, so I can actually see your questions, you guys. Orthographic. Yeah, that's the right word. Orthographic. Yeah. Did I say orthographic? Did I say orthopedic? Do I want layer control? No, it's okay. It's just going to take me too much time. I've learned to work with JPEGs for Critique Hour. I used to demand PSDs until I just gave up and started getting better at lasso. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to shrink the head one more time. And I'm going to just try to make these shoulders a little bit more sexy, a little bit more appealing. So as an artist, you do have a natural, if you've never done this before, you will be hesitant. And you will be scared of attempting these without reference. So having a reference at hand is just an amazing, amazing resource. And I'm just trying to mimic that really, really feminine wrist both ways, just to help give us more curves to look at. Maybe not on this side because you have that really pretty thing going on there. That big, I don't know what this is. Is it a planet? Is it an explosion? I am going to darken the top half just so we're getting the indication that her wrist has bent. Filter, liquefy, just cleaning up these seams here. Okay. And then we're going to lower that hairline. As you can see, her forehead is really low. Does anyone know why pen pressure turns off as soon as I hover my pen over photo viewer on Windows? Ugh, I hate Windows. That's not true. That's not true. I don't hate Windows. Windows can do it. I believe in Windows. Okay. So I'm just lowering that hairline down. I don't care about the face. It's okay if it's getting distorted, because I'm going to be lowering the entire head down as if she's moving it or pointing it down. Just tucking it there. I'm going to try to create that space as well in between. The thighs by borrowing some of this information here and merging it down. So when it comes to the face, yeah, I think it's this one. Thank you, Finn. I think it's this one. It's this type of glow. Thank you so much. There's also another one where a character is possessed. I'm not sure which one it would be, but it's very, very similar to that. Just really, really wide-eyed and open. So that's kind of what we're going for. And I'm going to use this here just to finish off with the thighs. Right, because it's really important that we're rotating the lower half of the body. And I'm just using that negative space here to show where we have one leg in front of the other. And I'm going to borrow something maybe lighter from this area. Oopsie. To throw in the top of the thigh, which is catching some light. And that should help us continue the shapes. We're just getting that thigh shape. It's still a little bit compressed, still feels orthographic. Okay, I'm going to borrow some darkness from here for that crotch selection and place it just there and continue that. And just sculpting based off what I see here. So I see a big triangle, that's how I knew the shape to take. I see a big sphere or cylindrical shape, that's how I knew which piece to take out. So a reference is extremely important, and my pen pressure blew up. So weird. As soon as you hover over a picture and Windows Ink enables, your pen pressure is gone. Alright, now for the face. Let me see what I can pull off with Liquify, and then we'll get into finishing the rest of today. Alright. So, the squinted eyes never worked. We need big old eyes to help create that feeling of celestial, divine, sublime power. That feeling like she's blindly powerful. It's almost horrifying, but very, very beautiful at the same time. So the nose is much lower. And then we've got a tilted outer corner, tilted lower corner. I'm just doing what I can with what you have here. Less circular face. Zoom out. And there's still so much in my opinion, a neutral face, has more personality in it than a smile. Because a smile can hide nuance, whereas a neutral face is full of nuance. And so when we look at a face and we think it's boring, I really think we're doing so much more for this without a smile. But if you feel like you want to add one, you see how it looks so much more simple. She still has power, but it's too simple. Whereas without a smile, there's just so much strength in it. And it's not just me. Look at all those league splashes. Every single one of them where they're trying to illustrate a powerful female character, they remove the expression. Okay, so I'm going to enlarge this whole thigh. And slowly but surely it's getting built. And I want to adjust what we're looking at in the face as well. And some of this light will kind of sculpt the inside. Just like that. And we still haven't used all the white we can use. I'm going to pretend that some of this stuff nearby, God damn it, some of the stuff nearby, like the golds, the blues, are going to glow and reflect back on the face. So this is a pretty large piece, and we're trying to make this the center of attention. We still need a focal point. I'm going to try to fake a universal light source by bringing in some light around the breast area, and then try to shape the breast with that arm that's kind of positioned really weirdly. Don't need to do all that. Just need to do this. Try to work as fast as possible. The hair silhouette as well is fantastic. But I would just want some more like wispy pieces, just something else to break that singular shape, and it's pretty easy to pull off. Just anything extra to help create a sinew of some kind. I don't like that shape very much. Maybe just changing the shape of the hair itself. So filter, liquify. And then there's the fact that her body is not that visible, so it could be, I'm going to just duplicate the layer and glow through. So just making the body a little bit more of an independent glow from the background, and then I'll delete for the background. See, so now we get her shape back a little. So I duplicated the layer, dodged loosely, and now I'm erasing away what I dodged loosely and keeping what I want dodged to remain dodged, so that I could have this glowing arm. Same thing on the other side. And sometimes no mouth also does it a lot. It makes it feel like a mask. Right? So it makes her feel more celestial. You can still have cheekbones, you can still have everything, just no mouth is really what makes them read as divine. But eyes, for human beings, the way we communicate with eyes. So that's not something we can lose in our communication with the divine. We keep that. We keep the eyes because it means more. It does more for us to connect to them. But for them to have a mouth and a nose, that's more of a mortal thing. So that's how I think about applying design into, or practicality into design, especially when we're dealing with something so impractical like a big star goddess. You know, we've never seen that before. So how do we as humans, based off the way we work with art, interpret something like that and convince the audience we're looking at a star goddess? There has to be the relation, the fact that she's relatable, she has a human body, but she has to also be separated and have less of a human body. So no nose, accentuated femininity, higher than normal femininity, which is also something I'm suffering from myself, actually. Alright, stupid joke. Right, so I'm pulling her out of the darkness, giving her some extra contrast. And then I'm going to try to, let me see what I can do. I'm going to try to borrow from the background to complete that in, because that's the completion of the hourglass. I need this whole section to be blue. So, merge down. And you don't have to worry about perspective. You don't have to worry about a lot of stuff having Portrait Studio at your side. You really don't have to, as long as you built your reference properly and you follow the rules of anatomy, you really don't have to worry too much. But just look at the quality level now that you applied all of this detail in the gesture, now that you applied all of this character. rest of her leg. And then we can just try to seam the rest in this way. The other leg, I feel would be a little bit more. So any questions at all from anyone? Pop out chat. If a tree falls and there's no one there to smell it, did it even make a scent? Why are we talking about perspective will be the death of me? Not necessarily, as long as you understand that, you know, you're supposed to be stacking, you're supposed to be identifying the spine, you're supposed to be adjusting the head size. These are things that you guys forget because since time immemorial, you guys have been painting the head size proportionate to the shoulders. Sometimes the head is just ducked right in. Sometimes it doesn't show like that. And so you guys are always forcing its presence. You guys are always forcing it. And that's why your perspective can fall sometimes. I'm going to use my brush with my smudge brush. That way I can get some texture going. Too much texture. The number 4 is better. It's always better. So if she has a belly button, I would interpret that. I mean, I wouldn't bother interpreting it. And now I'm just like adding to her curves. The top of her breast here seems to be cut off, and I can use that as secondary light to reveal the top of the breast. And that way we can keep what you had here, but still shape the breast. See? Problem solving. Art is problem solving. Write that back to me. I should seriously put that on a goddamn t-shirt. Alright. The thigh is there. Then we've got the knee. And I kind of want to shade just a little bit, like subsurface shading. Really nothing serious. I feel like this leg could be rotated forward just a bit more. Yeah, much better. Whenever I paint a female body, I feel like a pervy photographer. Yeah, baby. Okay. And then we have the rest of this. Thank you. Yes, art is problem solving. Okay. And it's okay because we're going to be smudging away the lower half of the canvas just so it doesn't corrupt the focal point. And this thigh here, it needs that little hip. So based off my reference, I need to make her hips do this. So I'm just going to go to liquefy and tuck up her hip just a bit, just so she has one. See that? My reference indicated that. I would not have been able to figure that on my own, just me. It's just something, sometimes we just don't know certain things, we don't sense them. We know that they look wrong, but we don't know exactly what to do to correct them. And that's the power of using a reference. Okay, bless you. The thigh feels a bit off still, but I don't care so much anymore. She is very, very large and she's made of smoke. And so I'm going to, or just some sort of radioactive particle. So I'm just going to be smudging the lower half, not worrying too much. As long as I had this essential value here, and I feel like we're losing a lot of it without burning the sides. So we're just burning. And the only reason I'm using so much burn and dodge is because this is a glowing elemental. Burn and dodge have been great tools for subsurface scattering when used right. Do not use burn and dodge to paint, just basically paint. Don't do that. That's not how we do things. We don't shade with burn and dodge. Okay, as for the important decision, what color eyes does she have? We're just gonna just move through a bunch of selections. So just throwing in a color layer and just going to your Control U and just messing around. Ooh, baby, that one looks great. Oh, I like that one too. I like that turquoisey one. There's also just choosing the color of her hair, which is also nice. You're just going to unify that. And I think that's the safer choice for me right now, or else I'm just going to be here all day. So I'm going to look at the questions now. At Istebrak, if you already asked the question, just rewrite it. Flatten image. And I'm just going to borrow some light to bring out her cheekbones from above. So just this whole area, just so that she has some element there. Okay. You just get rid of her hair and legs? Well, then you'd be left with nothing much really to represent it as a female goddess, or a very very you know, like Aphrodite. Like this is what like Aphrodite would be, in my opinion. Let me see if I like that. Yeah, I like that better. That's a lot nicer. When there's just tons of blue there and the eyes are glowing. Would it work with the hair floating like it does underwater? Absolutely, absolutely. The more you bring in like natural texture movement, the better. So I would totally recommend like finding how hair works underwater and then working with that. And you see how now we can see almost like an x-ray of her major skeletal body. So we can just throw another one there on the thigh. Not too bright, just enough. This I don't understand very much, but I gotta correct my liquefy because it looks a bit messy. Okay, and that's it. Before. Okay, so very dull, feels like a young child, and if that's what you were going for, that's okay. But I feel like the length of the arms, the size of the head, and the breasts that you had there, those were pretty big. So I feel like you were going for something hourglass. And the reference that I generated with Portrait Studio. If you guys don't know what that is, it's a software my team and I developed that helps us build references on our desktop. So I didn't have to go take a picture. I didn't have to buy a mannequin or anything like that. Everything's available. And it's going to be half off in 2 weeks. So if you like it, if you know you have friends who can use it, please do recommend it to them. It's an amazing tool, and it gives back, and it's updates for life. So it's never going to just stop development. My team is constantly on it. Abu is constantly on it, and we're constantly innovating how to use it. So if you're interested in Portrait Studio, it's available on my store at istebrak.com. But once again, before, after, and this is, in my opinion, the kind of stuff we would see in a game splash. Maybe a little bit more time and effort into generating a reference for different types of textures. So I would explore and see what kind of texture I would need. I would probably raise the image a little bit higher so it's less constricted towards the lower half. Keep her towards the center, and then just work on the stomach area, bring in some more detail there. Maybe she has some kind of armor, so really really cool, like friggin' cool, like you know those things that surround Saturn, I think, Jupiter. It'd be really cool if we had like super metallic, like armor type weapons here. I mean armor plates or a weapon or something like that. That would be just phenomenal to really complete it. And it's just pure gold. Like, let me show you how pure gold looks in this scene. All right, so it looks pretty cool, especially with the with that applied. And this is just, you know, before you apply texture, before you apply any kind of dress. Imagine if you even wanted to dress it like that, if that's what you wanted to do with it. But I would definitely go for some kind of golden, like body chain or something, just hovering around her, super thin. Oops. Just around here. Look, the way a necklace kind of hovers underwater. That would be really, really cool. Okay, just to bring in more detail if this had to be a splash. And then finally there is the frame for the lower half of the canvas. So I'm going to go for full blue, darken, actually multiply. I'm just going to, oh, I'm still on now. Just darken the lower half of the canvas, bring the attention back up forward. And if you want even more depth of field of view, just a bit bigger on those thighs and a bit bigger on this area. All right, so we get that depth of field effect happening. We feel like she's in the distance, and then we just shrink her head a little bit. If you want her to feel like she's just floating in that celestial air. There's also the option of tilting her head slightly one way or another out of curiosity. There's so many options, so many ways to express space with space. So that was before all the additional depth of field or field of view, and this is the additional stuff. And I think it's more dramatic when you apply this perspective. And you see, I did all the perspective in front of you, and perspective is just about observing stacking of shapes. Write that back to me. Perspective is just shape stacking. Which shape is furthest and smallest versus which shape is closest and biggest, and everything in between that is just sized accordingly. Meaning everything is just in between those two big sizes, the smallest size and the biggest size. All right, any more questions? I will definitely explore the options and correct it. Yes, give me more ideas. Did you just use dodge tool on color for the metallic? And just dodge tool on highlighter. So dodge tool highlights. Careful, I know dodge tool is really like sexy. Be careful, okay, Mango? I'm always scared when a student's eyes start sparkling when they see dodge tool working. I'm always just, very scared for them in that moment. Perspective is just shape stacking, exactly. Any more questions? Would it work for a nebula as a gas cloud? I know, but like, isn't it like gas is particles, and we call it a gas, but it's made of something else as well. There's other shit in there. Would you make her neck longer to make her look more elegant? No, because she's not sitting on a chair facing the camera, and the camera is level with her head. So you can't have someone leaning back and give them a long ass neck and a face. We're not giraffes. If she's sitting down facing the camera, okay, that's when you can use so if she's sitting down, and there's a stool and she's got her hands, that's when you can make the neck longer, when you have a seated character. When she's laying back, it's not a good idea to do that because you've completely destroyed the depth that we're trying to represent. Any more questions at all? So she really feels like she's leaning back. I don't know what this layer is. I'm going to delete it. I don't know what that layer is. Alright, so before, after, a lot more celestial, no need to squint the eyes. Had so much fun with this. I love seeing you guys have fun with your pieces. It's really amazing. That kind of upward movement, downward movement of the spell is also really, really beautiful. I would actually exaggerate it just a bit more, because now we have this like corner meeting corner, and the eyes have something to travel against. Do you see that? We still have that weak feminine wrist. It's not something sexist. It's just part of how females dance, female beauty representation. A weaker forearm is very feminine. A strong, big forearm is very masculine. Okay. All right. So before, after, feels a lot more colossal. Okay, we can also use depth rules and darken her in the distance and lighten her legs, but I don't want it to be about her legs. But she still, it's what served the purpose. She still feels like she is floating in space. And then you have the option of putting a whole layer of stars and then making her translucent so that you can have also that translucency, which is really, really cool. So basically something like grabbing this section, oops, bringing it over, decreasing her opacity so that she's a bit more transparent. And that's all that I put behind her. Okay, flatten. Let's move on to the Harvest Goddesses. Any more questions? Oh, I know to avoid dodge as much as possible. Everyone has a different technique for painting gold, silver, and they always look janky. Yeah, no. Don't get me wrong. Dodge tool is a wonderful tool for metallic surfaces, for helping you spike the values and the contrast when you need it. Dodge tool is amazing for subsurface scattering, but just make sure that you're not shading the face. This is a glowing character. You have a license to make her glow in this way. Of course, don't assume that this is applicable to when you have a matte character in an indoor room lighting. I think it lost a bit of dominance. For me, I think it's got a lot of dominance. Sex is dominance when it comes to female characters. Curvature, if you want to make her have a more dominant expression, you can also just drag the face down even further and have more of that kind of predatory expression. Okay, so that can also give you some of the dominance that you need if you like dominated, like being dominated. Alan. If that's what you're into, Alan Clark, you are forever immortalized in this channel as the dude who likes to be dominated. I'm just joking. I'm just teasing you. All right, let's yeah, dodge tool is not for skin. It's just saving. I think it's because it's a big ass file, so it's just saving. All right. Fuck my life. Saving 73%, but I can access another file? What are you doing, Photoshop? Okay, so for this piece, my issue with it was mostly that you really didn't know what you were representing when it comes to, yeah, Photoshop's gonna crash on me. When it comes to the light environment for the character. So before, in the previous critiques, I either lightened the background value or darkened it. In this case, what you really need, because she's made of flowers, and we've got two really similar submissions, you need to, like, excuse me, you need to raise that bright background, like, all the way up. So before I decide on that, I'm going to just increase saturation. I'm going to increase that vibrance. Because you were basically saying this, like, beautiful sun-kissed goddess is almost like a grandma too. This beautiful creature of life, life-giving creature. Lives in this, or no, this is a bad color to use. Lives in this, like, celestial plane. And people sometimes see her, and I feel like in order to pull that off, we need some of that haze of, you know, when you look at a sun. I think that's a better color, or this right here. And making her just a bunch of texture means that the texture isn't opaque like a human body. So you can have some internal, like, glow, like a fire or a flame, just like coming through from, like, the heart, you know, of this mother goddess. And this layering leaf is getting a bit more glow than this one. And this is also stacking on top of that. So you're getting this glow, and this makes me want to darken the background. But at this moment, all I'm doing is just what I feel like is right for us to pull off the feeling like she's glowing, you know, she's life-giving. She is like the sun herself. So all these little areas, actually I'll just, I'll merge down, duplicate, and then just dodge tool everything in this area. And then mostly focus on this like inner stem, and then delete away at what was in the way, or what is eclipsing in front of that light. For the mask, I feel like it's too green. It feels like a fake green. Green is best when it's saturated because it's between blue and yellow. A dull green is basically feces, so be careful when you're drawing this green. And it feels like a very elementary green. I feel like you could have pushed it more towards a warm. And I'm going to surround the entire image with some of that like advanced stage subsurface scattering from the silhouette behind the character. And then I will see about darkening the background. Looks like it's a sunset, you know? Like, what's the sunset color? So we've got, oh, all right. We've got this like orangey sunset value, saturated but just a touch darker. And at this point, like this delivery here is so important. And then select inverse. So I raise that saturation now. If I darken her, that saturation should hold a little bit more. And I'm just trying to pull off the feeling like it's a sunset. So saturate. Saturation raises value, so be careful. I'm just bringing in that intense value. And I'm not going to just place the sun behind her. I'm going to make her glow. I'm presenting the image of a goddess here, so I'm going to just bring in a lot of that sun abstractly behind her. You know, as if she's standing in the way of the light. To make a scene out of it by doing as little work as possible. And it's just about choosing the exact right values and sacrificing symbol for functional environment. And I still really want to advance this silhouette just a bit more. Select inverse, and then I'll just mess with the levels a touch. And if it's an environment, I suggest some kind of, you know, slight foliage nearby. And it's just slowly coming together, and then as soon as we spike that background value, we should have exactly what you drew before, just an abstraction, an abstract representation of it. I mean, not as abstract, sorry, a functional environment representation of it. All right, so we have that bloom from behind her. So it's like a memory of the character. But there's so much going on in the character, I just worry that you're trying to do too much. And the shape itself, the design, is just a touch too basic. If she was made of leaves and stuff like that, I feel like she wouldn't really have a dress or a skirt. And I feel like I would give her like a super long neck and like make her head all the way up there and like super small. And just give her like this big grandma neck. It makes no sense, but I don't know, like that's just what I feel like I'm describing. Do you see? Like it looks more abstract. like that new game by that one dude, that Japanese dude, doing this game with dolls and sewers or some shit. Some stupid look at me, mommy game. So that's I feel like this is a good design. When we lengthen her head a little bit and give her more abstraction. The way we see a long neck in Miyazaki's Princess Mononoke. And maybe just give her more kind of like chopped, pieced together, kind of like they stumbled into each other body parts, and just get rid of that grass so we can have a better idea of what's happening with her legs. So it's all about presentation and being able to pull off this feeling of sublimity, like this sublime goddess. And like really, really thin alien-esque shoulders. That would also be pretty cool. Okay. I feel like her dress isn't made of actual plant that's growing, but flowers attached to something like a vase or Death Stranding. Yes, stupid ass name. A vase, like a vase of flower. Yeah, I agree. If you feel like it looks more like a man, that's okay. I honestly would have confused it for either or, either old man or old woman, because of just the way you pulled off the body. And if you want woman back and you want old woman like grandma, you just got to give us those big grandma hips and those big grandma boobies. And it'll feel like a grandma again. Just that kind of apron waistline. And then just that super elongated neck. So she still has that alien-esque touch to her. I like how that collar kind of came together with the transform. But we have that. And then finally, and the reason why this is so much more complicated a critique than any of the other ones is because you chose to paint this is a creature design, and we want to see it like in its space, in its environment, this goddess, this amazing kind of thing. So filter, adjustment, curves, contrast, no, brightness a little bit low, no. Okay, so it's your choice really how you want to take these, but I suggest the major corrections I did today have to do with setting up a cool kind of like lineup of all the ways you want to explore the character. Maybe the character is leaning her head just a little bit and it's all long, and she's very long, but she also has these really funny looking legs. Maybe that looks a bit too comical, but I want to keep it, so I'm going to do that and get rid of that. Arms are super long, maybe just to harvest. And then out of that, I apply a mask hanging off either directly on the face. Oh, I want it to feel more like a grandma, so I'm going to raise that waistline up a little bit, and I'm going to close that up so it feels more like a grandma. I'm going to get rid of that athletic shoulder line, and bada bing, bada boom, you have an interesting silhouette for whatever you wanted to do. None of you guys did this, or some of you guys did it and ignored them. There's a reason why we do this study, so that you can explore what you want to do with your design. So yeah, okay, this one I want an athletic shoulder line, so I'm going to give her extra little spikies. I'm going to give her a small head. I'm going to give her an athletic head, which is more squared, and then straight at the top. But I want her to have this wide set kind of maternal body type, but I also want a very athletic space in between her legs. So I'm going to give her some stronger calves, and one leg is going to be slightly behind the other. One leg is going to be slightly in front of the other, and bada bing, bada boom, you got another like kind of sort of design. And then the arms, I like the long arms, so I'm going to keep those. All right, these are the kinds of thumbnails I really wanted to see, and I didn't really see any of these, and that's why we're stuck kind of trying to figure out what you're doing here with your environment. I would darken and desaturate towards the lower half, and then I'm still deciding on what the heck to do with your background. Either make it a bit more pale, or just more white might help us kind of make sense, and then getting rid of the extra yellows. Okay, because I want that silhouette. Like, I just saw her suddenly, you know, I was like a traveler and I died, and Gaia herself woke up out of the ground and came to talk to me. Okay, so let's look at these ones. These are great. I love these very, very much. They feel a bit stiff. They feel like a girl in a costume, less like a goddess. So based off everything we discovered today, some things that you could have done is make her eyes glow. Give her some sort of celestial, divine magic element. I welcomed magic, and this has no magic in it. This is just costume design. So you could have made her suspended, her feet a little bit more suspended. I talked about this in the last elemental video I uploaded that you guys should be watching. Her eyes, her expression should be a little less human. She should be less susceptible to gravity. I like her costume, but it doesn't feel like her ceremonial divine garb. It feels like something that she just put on for a very, very mortal earthly ceremony. And this one is the exact same thing as this one. I feel like we really need to push it into a creature design and see what we can do with just like color, presentation, the values that we need to be seeing. It's hard to critique these when there is so little work applied to their presentation. It's hard to pull off a read so that the critique is complete. Okay, so it's similar to where you had it before, but a little bit more appealing. If you want that grandma crouch forward, that's okay. I just feel like she's a lot more divine this way. I'm going to try to select the whole piece and just, because I didn't like how dark it used to be and how close we are to it. I'm going to make it even brighter. Just to help the, I don't know why my lasso is such ass right now. Oh, it's a whole new layer. A whole new layer. Anyway, shut the fuck up, it's right. And then flatten visible. Okay, and I think that is helping us a lot more to feel like she's actually made of this stuff. And it's the exact same thing with the other one. It's just the other one that we looked at has an environment. And again, it just looks like someone wearing a costume. It doesn't feel divine. So these are really, really easy things to pull off when you try to make something look divine. Suspend them into zero gravity. It's like a quick little divine in a can. Suspend them into zero gravity and bring in some kind of magical element. Because if it's a god and they're not really doing any of that, then are they really a god? You know, are they really aren't they just humans in costumes dressed like a god? That sort of thing. I would bring in like some kind of really cool like leafy thing here just to break the silhouette. If you're gonna go all out, you might as well just like have fun with it. Feels so Aztec with that little weapon there, and that's gonna help the scene a lot. And wherever we would usually like just have this foliage growing is where I'm just thinking about the silhouette. Again, I'm just thinking about that, how that reads to me. I'm just using this universal color red to help. Right? This feels like a god. This feels like something out of God of War. You know, this feels like a creature design and also a character design at the same time. And if you just don't want a background at all, keep the value, get rid of the color if that's what you want. Keep the value and just get rid of the color and brighten as needed. And you'll still have that same effect. You still have the character looking fantastic. And I'll just desaturate the character just a touch, not too much. I like the beige because it makes her feel more alive, more divine. I can't keep dodging. Okay. All right. So again, this one feels like a character in a costume. I would be here for another hour, kind of figuring out how to correct this one. You have that vegetation, the face made out of vegetation, and that's cool. But that would have been cool if we had like crazy vegetation everywhere, and then we had a really beautiful face in the middle of all that vegetation. So you had like a bunch of vegetation, and then in that vegetation you had a tiny little face showing through. And it wasn't just a ridiculous looking cheek thing. It had like a very defined beauty to it, and it had that sternness. And then that would be like the goddess hiding in the leaves. That would have been cool. But this just looks like someone wearing a mask in a costume. Though it's very well done. I love how you balance the background color. It looks like a painting. It looks like an actual painting. I love how you balanced your colors. You did amazing. But maybe rethink how comical these big cheeks are. I mean, this is clown makeup. And that's why it's hard to take this seriously. She kind of also has a gap tooth. You accidentally added a gap tooth. I don't know what vegetable that is. But you basically just drew... you basically just drew this face. Okay, and that's that. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm telling you why it's comical, because you basically just drew Leonard here. Okay, sue me. I don't know how to draw hands. All right, thank you everyone for watching today. You guys are amazing. Thank you all for writing things back, for being here. I'm so happy to be back. I'm so happy to be here doing this with you guys. It's so much fun. It feels so much better when it's live instead of a recording. If you're interested in purchasing Portrait Studio, go to istebrak.com and go to the store. Portrait Studio can be purchased for half off at the end of this month, at the start of November as well, maybe. And it'll be half off, but if you want to purchase it right now, it's at $90. All my brushes will also be on sale by the end of the month. If you want to join as a patron, please do. If everyone here joined, if everyone on Reddit joined as a patron for $1, I would never again, for as long as I live, need to ask for patrons and your support. If everyone joined for just $1, if everyone here in this live chat joined for $1 right now, and continue to, for anyone new, for anyone promoting it, just as a watcher. There's a reason why I call the $1 people watchers, because you guys are actually watching over this community. So if you guys want to support me, if you guys feel like dealing with that whole credit card checkout thing with Patreon, you guys can always support me at istebrak.com, patreon.com/istebrak. The new challenge is already up for October. Please read through it. It's really, really cool. It's a line art, cel-shaded character lineup, Halloween themed. And I have your references here for you. It's going to be hella fun. I cannot wait to see what you guys draw. Last year, or the year before, was creepy creatures. And you guys did some amazing work for that as well. Thank you everyone for watching today. I'll see you guys on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Tuesday the 8th at 5 p.m. Eastern. Bye everyone.